feel free as well to drop in the comment section where you're tuning in from, guys, as well. So, Fon, thanks for coming on. I've been stalking your Instagram too, Fon. I was telling Dave that this afternoon.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah. Josh. Hey, Mandy. How you doing? Troy, thanks for coming on. Amy said you were going to join, so it's great.
We've got
Amy there as well.
Hey, Cowjoy Lee.
Courtney, thanks for coming on.
Riley, stop talking over top of me.
Young Joshua Paul. So yeah, we usually just wait a couple of minutes, guys, before we sort of kick it off and just get everyone on. So
sounds good.
Easy.
Can everyone hear me still?
Yep. Yep, no, that's good. Thanks, Ian. Hope you're doing well. Big Michael Phelan. Yeah, like I said before, drop in the Q&A or the comment section there, guys. Anyway, where you're coming in from.
You ready down there, Neil?
I'm ready.
You look nervous, Neil. Relax, mate. It's fine.
I keep looking down, thinking it's Al Fisher. Al Stewart off hanging away.
We have 5 screens, so if you can't see the 5 screens, go into gallery view, and I think everyone can see us from there.
Yeah, that is a good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So,
and yeah, for everyone at home too, to do that as well, at least you'll be able to see everyone's video up there. Yeah.
I just saw Kate.
Viewing. Craig's back again. Sorry, it's not your usual Thursday viewing, Craig, but good to see that you could join us on a Wednesday. Gabrielle Scarf, Holly Claire, thanks for coming in. Good to connect during the week too. All right, what do you reckon, Katie?
Yeah, I might start to introduce ourselves, and for those who don't know me, I am Katie Fuller. I'm a senior recruitment consultant, and my colleague Riley Hunter, the managing director of Huntsman Recruiting. So we established the Strange Times webinar series to address the impact of COVID-19 in our communities and bring as much relevant information as we can to the public. So we have offices in both Wagga and Albury, and our hearts truly do lie within these centres, and we're born and bred within the Riverina. So firstly, we'd like to welcome everyone to part 5 of the Huntsman Recruiting Strange Times webinar series, featuring Belle Armstrong from Texas Jane, Kapay from Miss Emily, and Neil Druce from Coral Whiskey and Chocolate. So thank you to everyone who's attending so far. It's really great to see our communities supporting one another. So we mentioned at the beginning, we want this to be as interactive as possible. So chime in with any questions for our panelists throughout the evening, and you can use your Q&A box to type in as well, so we can bring them up for discussion as they pop up. So Riley, I might throw it over to you, mate.
Perfecto. Thanks, Katie. Yeah, welcome everyone, and thank you everyone for joining in at home. So I think it is going to be a great evening tonight, and we've been wanting to do this one for a while now anyway, and just really celebrate those success stories. So I think we've picked 3, absolute crackers for that anyway. So firstly, we've got Belle Armstrong from Texas Jane. Welcome, Belle. Thanks for coming along.
Thanks for having me.
Belle and Eloise created the first foundations of Texas Jane back in 2018 over a nice little bottle of wine, I believe.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I hope you've still got that one.
To be honest, I don't think I can even remember which it was.
It must have been a few bottles then, I'd imagine.
I would dare say.
All right. So when they began discussing the desire shared by so many rural women to obtain greater physical access to fashion and trends, which is seen on a cosmopolitan scale, Belle worked within large fashion houses and their buying and planning divisions within brands like MJ Bale, Karen Millen. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that the right way.
Millen, but that's all good.
Millen. I'm not obviously with my attire. I'm not a fashionista. Maybe I need to come in.
Or bring you ice.
Yeah, that's good. And I'm not even going to try this. Is it Cuba?
That's it. Nailed it.
Perfect.
Well done.
Yep, thank you, Dave. So yeah, Belle and Eloise love collaborating with local artists, and they're frequently promoting their pieces on socials and in store. Texas Jane have grown their online presence on Instagram and Facebook to reach a greater audience, especially through what's been happening with COVID-19. They're doing this by showing customers how to wear clothes with virtual styling sessions, which includes showcasing the outfits of the day, as well as doing master classes on denim or how to wear a white t-shirt 10 different ways. When I read that, I thought that was brilliant anyway. So which way is Dave wearing his tonight?
The way that all men seem to wear them, which is just one way. The regular way.
That's fair enough.
No patterns.
Yeah, no, it looks good, Dave. So you've done well.
Thank you.
Yeah. So they wanted to shine the spotlight on what was being designed and produced right here in Australian soil, which is awesome. Each day is an endeavour to empower and support women of all ages in the building and developing a fierce confidence in their own style. And yeah, one of my good mates in Sydney is a stylist up there as well, and that's what she says as well. And you truly can. You can change someone's levels of confidence and even their personality to a certain extent by what they wear and making them feel, I guess, a little bit more proud of themselves and whatnot. So that is Belle, our first panellist. Next up, we've got David Kapay. David is the director and founder of Miss Emily in Wodonga. David is the head chef and owner. He's also the mastermind behind, I've already mentioned it, but Wodonga's prestigious Miss Emily restaurant. David's career flourished from the opportunity to work under the likes of Jamie Oliver at the world famous 15 restaurant in London, which is very impressive. And also with Gordon Ramsay and Jason Atherton at Michelin-starred Maze restaurant, which is also in London. So, he's had a pretty impressive, I guess, career and grounding for that as well, which is awesome. And we'll pick his brains a little bit more, I think, especially around Gordon Ramsay. We could just hear a little bit more about that.
We'd need a bit longer, I think.
Yeah. The big Wodonga magnet drew him back to the border to pursue his dreams of opening his own restaurant. While David, he works tirelessly, and I know he's an extremely hard worker, but he really wants to create those memorable experiences for his guests at Miss Emily. And he strives every day to remember the bigger picture. So his vision is to create a stronger community by giving back to those less fortunate, investing in time in empowering younger generations. David is a proud ambassador for the Care Van Kids Cooking and Caring program. They're committed to building a stronger future for his community. So, I'll take my hat off to you, David, as well. That you've got a great background, and I think your story will be. I think everyone will enjoy listening to that as well. So,
thank you.
And last but not least, we've got Neil Druce from Corowa Whiskey and Corowa Whiskey and Chocolate. And Junie Licorice and Chocolate Factory as well. Neil's the founder of the incredibly successful, from both of those businesses that I just mentioned as well. Corowa Whiskey and Chocolate are the first to make whiskey in New South Wales in the past 100 years, if we remember correctly, Neil. Is that right?
It's not, but we were almost the first. When we applied, we were the first ones in, but then we didn't actually get to make it first. Anyway, I'm happy with your research.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Beautiful. Well, we'll run with that anyway. You're very close.
Yeah.
A close second or third. We'll take it. It's fine.
Yeah.
So Neil, along with his son Dean and his daughter Rhiannon, have added to their product offerings by manufacturing, bottling, and supplying over 5,000 litres of hospital-grade and WHO-approved hand sanitizer per day. And they still can't keep up with the demand, which is pretty impressive. And I read an article today too saying that I think Dean had mentioned that they thought this was going to be a week-long project, and that was it. So I guess how wrong that has been anyway, which is awesome. So, Neil is best known for his quirky and charismatic personality, which you'll get to know of more tonight. I think I'm probably not doing him a favour, but I think we're better off throwing it over to him now to introduce himself and the businesses properly. So to go into that, our first question for the evening anyway, Neil, if you want to take us off from here, tell us a little bit about your story, like how you started the business and I guess the changes that you've made during COVID-19 as well.
Yeah, sure, right. We started the licorice one because it was a value add to the farm with the organic grain, and we started making licorice because it's based on the grain. And then we added chocolate to that. So that began, and we wanted to do tourism. But for Corowa, the Corowa Council owned the flour mill down there, and they offered it to us for $1. And that seemed like a pretty good offer for us. I asked if it included GST. They didn't think I was as funny as I did. Anyway, we thought that we would do whiskey down there because that's a value add to barley. And, with the organic licorice, we're the first in the Southern Hemisphere to do it. And with, the whiskey, it was a fairly rare thing, even in Australia at that time. So we're pretty keen to hook in. So we did those things. But then, it was something like a month ago, this with the COVID-19 came up, and then we started getting asked, have we got any surplus alcohol to make the sanitizer? And we're certainly very interested, and we jumped in and started doing that. Obviously, there were massive changes that we had to make, but we've jumped in to fulfill a demand, really.
Yeah. No, it is. It's very important. Who sort of who were the main one that was reaching out to you and requesting that?
Well, it was started by Vic Health. They contacted us before New South Wales Health, but they were after an awful lot. I think they were asking for 1 million litres, or between 700,000 and 1 million litres of sanitizer.
And how much have you produced so far for them?
Oh, look, it's about 200,000 litres, somewhere there.
Impressive, yeah. And how did you know, like say that WHO regulations as well? How do you know that you sort of hit those sort of targets with, I guess, the grade of sanitizer that you come up with? Yeah,
exactly right. Look, we were lucky enough to have on the workforce in Corowa an ex-pharmacist with a master's in chemistry. So he said, mate, it's all yours. You get the formula together, and you tell us what we need, and we'll buy them in. And Dean did most of that work, but that was a really nice little thing, and that helped us make that decision to do that. And then I was able to get government permission to do it, and we all sort of worked together to do something completely new.
Yeah. It's great, mate. And so Belle as well, did you want to go into, I guess, a little bit about your story, like how you started the business as well and the changes that you guys have made?
Yeah, for sure. Firstly, Neil, we got our hands on some, pardon the pun, and it was so welcome because we couldn't get anywhere.
Oh, good.
So thank you.
The first lot we made from gin too, so if it smells gin, don't be tempted to drink it, but it's good.
Like we said, we won't be doing any Donald Trump advice, so all good.
I should have put a disclaimer out beforehand about that, shouldn't we?
Absolutely. So a bit about kind of what Eloise and I have created. So it really just blossomed out of, we'd spent quite a bit of time in Wagga over the years, but weren't living here. Like I said, I've only relocated here in January of 2019. Yeah. And we both had kind of travelled around regional New South Wales quite a bit and loved how kind of soul nourishing it was to go to a great cafe that you hadn't been to before in a place that you didn't know that well, and kind of hit the high street and see what the local artisans kind of had on offer and what was on offer in terms of boutique shopping. So when we'd kind of spend time in Wagga, we could tick a few of those boxes, but we kind of found that all-encompassing kind of boutique retail experience was lacking a little bit. Yeah. And it was something that we always kind of thought would be awesome here because it's such a unique economic environment because it doesn't just rely on income from farmers. There's so many other industries that operate. So that kind of sets Wagga apart. And we both had the opportunity to kind of relocate at the same time. And we kind of just decided that we would strike while the iron was hot. So we came up with the concept of launching a bricks and clicks retail service. Yeah. But when we opened, the response was quite overwhelming to our in-store experience. So the e-com platform kind of went on the back burner, which kind of leads me into, I guess, what we've done amidst this whole COVID thing is to launch our e-com platform. That's been kind of our biggest strategic goal ticked off, and we probably wouldn't have done it in such a timely fashion if we weren't forced into it.
Yeah. And it's it's pretty impressive that, like how you have relocated. You both relocated out with and being pretty successful with even the brick sort of side of things as well, with not having that. Like sometimes, especially like in say Wagga or Albury, Wodonga, it's a lot of it's built on relationships and connections within in the community already. So to be able to do that through obviously your marketing and social media campaigns and whatnot, it's pretty cool.
Thanks, Riley. Yeah, I think it honestly also just comes back to like the basics of human interaction, like be kind, be helpful, find common ground with people, and you can build those connections. And then I guess it was actually kind of an awesome thing that we had something fresh to offer our customers while COVID was happening. So the website was a totally new platform that they hadn't experienced before. So it was something that we could promote, and it was fresh.
Yeah,
did you build that?
Ideas coming, because I know that you've done fashion tutorials on how to throw an outfit together. How do you sort of think outside the box and be able to come up with those ideas?
We literally just put it to our customers, Katie. Like they're the ones who make our world turn. So it's just a matter of asking them, what is it that you want to see? And then we're also super lucky because fashion's such a visual product. There's kind of a lot out there in terms of getting inspiration for how to kind of put it together. So that's kind of the easy part. And we're just so lucky that we've got awesome customers who are prepared to give us that feedback.
And, sorry, Kate, the audio wasn't working. But how did you, with the IT, with the website and things like that as well, did you guys do all the back end yourself, or did you have someone else to be able to contract that to quickly turn around? Or
we had a graphic designer friend, as I think most people do. I feel really sorry for all the graphic designer friends out there because they're probably definitely being taken advantage of a little bit. But she helped us set up the back end of things. We're just running it through Shopify, which is an awesome e-com platform for retail. And once that was kind of set up, it was the process of actually adding the products in, which is super time consuming. Obviously you need all the assets in order to make a sale. Like it's hard enough in store. So you really need to have kind of a heap of different assets on there that make the shopping experience easy. And we didn't kind of just want to launch it, do a bit of a half-assed job, to be honest. So that was time consuming, but we were lucky that it was kind of built in the back end, ready to go.
No, it's great because a lot of people would, like, obviously they're jumping online to buy things at the moment anyway, and they just look at those, like, ASOS sites or whatever other sort of, even your boutique sites as well, but at least now they can truly still buy locally here as well. So, that's awesome. And Dave, can you give us a bit of a rundown, I guess, again, of your story, how you started your business, and I guess that pivot to the pie making over the last month or so?
Yeah, sure. Look, my family, I guess, is it's every chef's dream to one day own your own restaurant and create your own dreams and your own. It is who you are. It's your personality. It's all your ideas and your brains and your experiences over life. All comes together in dining on a plate of food. All your experiences, all your stories, all your knowledge, and it's just happened to be in my hometown of Wodonga, which the opportunity arose back in 2018, I think. 2017. Anyway, it's not nearly been 4 years. I knew I could come back to Albury Wodonga and make a difference. I was confident in where I'd been, and 5 years in London, 8 years in Melbourne, grafting through all the high-end restaurants and learning from the best people and bringing all the good and rejecting all the bad from my career and bringing it into this one space and creating a perfect kind of establishment for the youth of Albury Wodonga to come and train and work in. It was something that wasn't available for me when I was a little tacker. It was all deep fried crap, and there wasn't a real it wasn't a real food scene up here. It was all pub and stuff like that. So I left, and now it's a privilege and an opportunity for me to give back to the youth where they can stay in their hometown and have world-class experiences and training. And I think that's super important. COVID struck, and I was in a position where my expertise were not being used in the avenues and of what I would have wanted to. So I reached out and thought who could deal with my expertise for a while, basically, who wanted to have a lend. And I grew up with the guys at Henry's, they're family friends. Matt, who's the baker there, said, why don't you come and we make these awesome kind of Miss Emily fancy pies and we'll see how it goes. And the rest is history, and it's been gangbusters. I think they took about 15K on the first day in pies. So
Wow.
That's mad.
Oh my goodness.
About 200 pies, was that right? Or 100 pies?
the first day we thought, oh yeah, we'll make about 30 of each, and they were gone within 25 minutes. So we thought we'd better roll up our sleeves, and I think the next day we sold nearly 300 and something pies in 3 hours. So
that's amazing.
Thank God. Yeah, thank God it's slowed down a bit now. I was like, what have I got myself into? I was working harder than I was at the restaurant.
And we were talking the other day too, because you've had to, I guess, adapt even your personal life from usually you'd be finishing up at 3 a.m. and now you're getting up at 3. So.
Yeah, I've turned into a bit of an old man, having dinner and a cup of tea and going to bed before everyone else. So
yeah,
I'm enjoying it's. And like speaking to Belle earlier, you take your silver linings on everything in life. And, the last 2 months I've become a better father and husband, and I'm a fitter, stronger man, and I'm, working on my fitness and my mental health, and have made some amazing friends in the last 2 months, and, a once in a lifetime opportunity has fallen on my doorstep as well, which we'll talk about soon. And none of this would have happened without the coronavirus. So amen, maybe.
There's definitely great positives that come out of this time, that's for sure. And I know you touched on it earlier, Belle, but we'll start off with you. What sort of impact has this COVID crisis had in regards to staff?
Yeah, well, we had kind of just got to a point where, obviously having been open for just over 12 months, we'd kind of just got to a point where we had an awesome employee who was fully trained, and our customers loved her, and well, they do love her. And we were kind of really at that stage where she's super confident and can totally take the reins. So when this hit, that was kind of number one for us, was if you don't have good people, you don't really have anything. So particularly in face-to-face retail. So we kind of jumped on that straight away, and JobKeeper has allowed us to keep her on and keep her kind of incentivized. And without that, I'm not really entirely sure what we would do during this time. We would have to come up with something, but like we were mentioning before, we're so lucky to have a government who supports us and understands those struggles that we're kind of having.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Neil, with the oh, sorry, Katie, you're right.
You're always talking, Charlie.
Well, we can't hear you again, Katie.
You need to get closer to the screen.
There you go. Yeah, it mustn't pick up unless you're closer to it. Yeah.
I'm on Riley's computer, everyone. So obviously there's.
That's better.
There we go. And Neil, with yourself, like, have the changes that you've made, obviously down there, they've allowed you to keep your staff on as well? Like I read something like you've been able to keep 20 odd staff on. Is it like?
Yeah, and up in June as well. So we've been able to keep them on, but the changes, every time there's a change, there'll be a reaction with your staff and obviously with yourself. And there's a lot of conversations that need to be had, because if you don't have the conversations, assumptions come in, and some of those assumptions are harmful. And so we've made sure that at least every week, and some, at the beginning, like 3 times a week, we sit down with everyone and in small groups and we talk it through. Because after we talk it through, and we can only pass on what we know too, because when we're reading about Job Seeker and some of those things, it was like, I've got no idea what's happening here. Yeah. But we would give them as much as we could, and we'd give them the assurance that we're doing our best to all work together to get out the other side of it. But some of the assumptions that were harmful, we thought, some people go like, oh, well, that's it, it's all over. And other people are like, oh, it doesn't matter what we do, this business is going to survive. And I go, well, neither of those assumptions are correct, and they're both quite dangerous because we've got to all pull together. But after all those conversations, we've been able to give quite a few people new skills, and they're all talking about how good their resume is going to look now.
Yeah.
Down to spray painting cars and detailing cars and things.
Yeah.
Everyone's quite excited with what they're learning. And there's a lot of different reactions, but there is a chance for some people to say they treat it a little bit like a mufti day at school, where you wear what you want and you act how you want. And certain things, a certain amount of slackness can come back in, but you've got to pull it up. Even when you're super busy and don't have time to do much, you've still got to take that time to make sure the ship's going the right direction.
Mm. And it's so true. I think what you said, we touched on it a couple of weeks ago in another webinar as well about that full transparency with staff. And we're asking whether or not it's a good idea to even show your financials as well. Like some businesses are starting to do that as well, and just open up their books to people and go, this is exactly where we're at, which is it's an interesting sort of subject, and some people love it or hate it. But I think the more you get, you just don't, assumptions are, that's what my old man used to always say as well, assumptions are the mother of all ups, if you could bleep that out. So the more you can get around your staff at these times as well, though, and just let them know, this is exactly, and they, because people know if you're hiding things from them, I think anyway, and they'll just get a feeling from it. So the more transparent you can be and just honest and open and go, we don't know, at the moment we can keep the doors open, we can keep this going for the next 3 to 4 weeks, but if things don't change or if this drops off, this is what could happen. And people absolutely love that, and I think it makes anyone come out of this a lot stronger anyway, especially as a leader.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's fantastic, Neil. So, and what about you, Dave? With obviously that collaboration with Henry's Bakery now, were you able to keep some staff on and have them come across, or was Henry's been able to keep staff on? How's that work?
Yeah, early days, I brought over one of our young chefs with me I was in a new environment, just wanted to have someone that I could know and work with and get the job done. It was basically me. I was the filling maker, and there was some pastry chefs, and it was like, geez, I can't keep up here. So obviously the restaurant was shut. So we only really had about 4 full-timers on at that stage, and an apprentice. So, but on the flip side of it, on the opposing side of my family, it was really amazing that we were able to keep a lot of the Henry's guys afloat. So from a positive for another business was me bringing the Miss Emily brand to Henry's saved all their staff. The 3 of their chefs came back working. All their casual front of house, the ladies, the wait staff out the front all started coming back to work. More and more people were coming into the bakery buying more stuff. So the young pastry chef had to come back in, vanilla slices, lamingtons, all that kind of stuff. Because as soon as you got people in the door, you've got an opportunity to sell them something. So Henry's was back flowing again within a week. People coming in, buyers, I'll take a snot block, I'll take this, I'll take a loaf of bread, and away you go. Like that kind of one-stop shop. So Mr. Shirley was super happy that he was able to keep all of his people employed, and now some of the older ducks, the casuals, are pretty happy. They've never earned $7.50 in their life a week, so with the job keeper. So some of them earn
I think that's so true too, Dave. As much as you can be collaborative locally, it benefits everyone. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, of course. Some of them are cheering. They're working the same hours and getting double the pay almost. So.
Yeah, exactly. He'd be throwing big bucks at you to stay now, wouldn't he?
No, we've had the conversation. And, they're happy for everything that's going to plan, and obviously my work there is not finished, and I'll work right up until I'm too stretched. And but they're super important. We gave the business a bit of a heartbeat again, and it's definitely up and running and moving into winter now. So that kind of warm pie suits the weather, so they'll be back into their busy period, and then it'll all be over. So it was perfect timing.
Yeah, no,
Can
that's
I
awesome.
just mention there too, Dave? Can you hear me?
Yeah, of course.
I've seen the honey soy pork belly pies.
Yeah.
And
Yum.
they sound
Delicious.
amazing.
Yeah, that was pretty popular. So it's been on for a week now, trying to mix it up and get some new faces through some different flavors. But all those kind of Asian-y flavors just rock, don't they? Curries, musselmans, honey soy. It's
just had a good idea then. There could be a three-way collaboration here between you guys as well. Like Dave could get the chocolate, make some chocolate pies. Belle, you could sell it to all your clients. They might go up a dress size. And then this could be great for everyone.
I think we have to do a little pop-up pie shop in Wagga.
Well, watch this space, Katie. So
or a pop-up restaurant. That would be amazing.
I might be testing it. Yeah, there's lots of exciting things going on down here in Wodonga. So.
And what was like, to Neil, back to you sort of thing as well. What was your mindset like behind making the changes? Like, did you find it difficult, or was it just we got to do this and just jump straight in?
Yeah, look, I like it when it's difficult because I figure you won't have a lot of competition. So it was a little bit difficult, but I loved the concept of getting in and finding such a need. Because to be honest, I've never had a business before where as much as we could produce, we could sell. I've just never had it. You're always trying to figure out what the demand is and working. So that gave us a lot of motivation. But and the strategy really, in my mind, every time something comes up, it's very much like a board game. And our family's played board games all our lives, and we sort of, every time there's a change in the board, you have to change your strategy. And this is just like an incredible changer, It's even like you're playing Monopoly, not Monopoly cards, 500, and suddenly someone goes Mazare. Oh, hold on, now we're not trying to win, we're trying to lose. And that's how I feel now. And the game is different, and I think we've got to be game to be different. I just made that up then. But you've just got to have that courage and back yourself a little bit and say, all right, we're going to step out and do some completely different things now, because that's what the environment, the current business environment demands.
Yeah.
So it would look, to summarize that, it was difficult, but my mindset is you look at the state of play and you go, it's completely different. We cannot afford to keep doing the same thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Neil.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it is where you see a lot of business, like the ones that are burying their head in the sand a little bit, even if it's there's a big lag time, even if it's 3 or 4 weeks, just going, we'll just wait and see. It catches up eventually. So that's what like people like yourselves who have still made a success of this anyway. They've just changed like lightning basically anyway. So it's great. And what about you, Belle? Like, what was your sort of mindset? Your and your business partners? How'd you?
Well, I actually think it's one of our best and worst qualities, because we tend to just jump into things without having necessarily a full strategy behind them.
Yeah.
But I think what I've always been told is action, not perfection, and it has never failed me.
Yeah.
I think just get in and get it started, because you'll be able to kind of untangle the web from there. If you spend too much time kind of bogged down in the finer details, it becomes so overwhelming, and this whole situation is so global and so overwhelming if you kind of sit and think about it in that way. So I think just jump in and do something, however small it is. That's been our kind of approach.
Because even with your website, you would have had little glitches in that, wouldn't you, on the way through it?
That was the most testing thing I have ever executed. By far.
You're in the mindset too, Belle, like, oh God, this is too hard. I might just wait and see how it goes within another week or two.
Oh, well, for sure. Like, there were definitely days where I was like, I think I'm going to give this whole thing up. But I guess you've just got to take yourself away and like give yourself that time to have a bit of breathing room, which is fine. Like I think I tend to do that a lot, and you kind of ride yourself to the point of getting quite anxious and stressed. But sometimes you just need to go outside, take your mind off it, and come back with a fresh set of eyes, and it makes a world of difference.
Yeah. And with yourself, Dave, like I've only really started to get to know you the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks, had a few conversations and whatnot, but you seem like a really sort of caring, genuine, and like an empathetic sort of guy. But are you, like, was yours a business decision to make that change, to go to Henry's, or was it a bit of both where you wanted to really help people out, or like what was that?
Probably a bit of both, to be honest. I wasn't overly keen on sticking gorgeous food in a takeaway container and selling it for less. Like it just, you know, there's been a lot of people, especially with, you know, rent relief and all. You chose to shut your doors. Why didn't you do takeaways? Like, you know, it's just no love, or it just didn't have my full attention, or I just didn't really want to do it, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, you're building your overheads. You know, it's a massive building. You're turning everything on to sell stuff for a third of the price, and the money's not there really. So it was a bit of a righto, let's just shut up shop, and everyone's going through the same stuff. And now I look back at it, and it's been a great opportunity for me to just clear my mind and think outside of the box and do something different, you know. And it's as much as the world pandemic has been terrible and whatnot, and what life changing and world change, you know, it's not going to kill you. Well, hopefully, life goes on, and you just get on with it. To be honest, everyone's in the same boat. Find something challenging and find something that's going to entertain you and stimulate all your senses, and meet some new people. And you just don't know what happens in life. So instead of curling up in a ball and watching TV and all the news and all that crap, you know, I've just stayed right away from it all and stayed positive and hung around with positive people. And how do we get through this? People pivoting, you know, that word pivot, or reinventing themselves, you know, new skills, and I can go on. I've met so many new people in the last month, and new connections, learnt so much more, and you know, it's been a little blessing. I've had a nice break, and I wasn't just going to sit back and be miserable and bring everyone else's spirits down. I use it as everyone just go and have a holiday. You're going to get money. It is what it is. You can't change it. Go and chill out, reconnect with your family, go on walks, you know, get some fresh air, really get back to it. Because as a chef, you know, it's groundhog, everything. You just wake up, work, tired, aching, customers, you know, late nights, repeat, you know. Yeah. There's a world out there, and it's a beautiful world, you know, and I've really enjoyed my last month, to be honest. But the restaurant will go on.
Sometimes in business things can get overwhelming. Dave, you mentioned before you've been trying to get fit. How do you best manage your energy when you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed or bogged down with everything that's going on? Is there something specific that you do, or? Yeah,
just towards the last couple of months of the restaurant, I was, I guess for the first few years of the business, I've been, everything's restaurant. You know, you're whatever. This is the path you chose. This is what you need to do to be successful. It's working. You're doing this. Everyone loves you. Blah blah blah. And you know what? I was coming home and I was ruined. Yeah. I was grumpy on Sundays. Not really. Kids were like, hi, but you know, I just wasn't the best person I could be. So I joined the gym and took myself away from the restaurant a little bit in the mornings. And I'm like, you know what? There's more to life. I don't need to be there 14 hours, 12 hours of the day. Yeah. Reevaluate what your offering is. You know, if it's taking too much time in your life, cut it back. People aren't going to start coming and stoning your house or throwing eggs at you or anything, you know. So joined the gym and just started getting healthy and reconnecting with people and, you know, having something to look forward to. And it's just so much drinking less. A chef, you come home, you smash 8 beers every night and go to bed and wake up and do it all again the next day. I could write a book. And Neil's laughing. Yeah, Neil's laughing because it's so true. It is a groundhog life. So getting healthy and now I'm home from the bakery by 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm doing, cardios, and I'm up hills. I'm just doing stuff and making the most out of every minute of daylight that you've got, and being grateful. Learning gratitude, and and people talk about it all the time. Oh, whatever, I'm busy. I'm not grateful for nothing. But now, I'm just grateful for everything, and the people you meet, and the conversations you have, and opportunities that come to you, and just be grateful for everything that you have. So fitness is a massive key to all that for me.
Yeah.
And what about yourself, Neil? You mentioned board games. Is there whiskey thrown in there as well?
Stop it. Always a little bit. I suppose for me, these changes and all the things we've got to think about, I find incredibly invigorating. They give me a lot of energy. And to be honest, even when I'm sleeping, I wake up in the morning with a million ideas that I've had during the night, which is, I know that's crazy, but it happens. And the other thing I believe in is the word courage. And it comes from 2 words, core, which is like the center part of your heart, and the R-A-G-E is actually a rage. So it's the rage of the heart. And you get the motivation from that passion, or that, what's raging in your heart. And if you take on a new project, that's what can happen. And for me, it gives me a lot of energy. But on the other side, when you're doing something hours and hours a day, how do you wind down? Where's that, your safe haven that you go to? And for me, it's a herb garden. And chatting with my wife, Coral. Sorry? Mint, parsley.
Whiskey and weed.
Yeah. It's a cash crop. No, to go to some safe place, and you sit and you sort of get yourself together, because I find when you're on that treadmill and you're running and you're rolling, and the Groundhog Day thing is sometimes the brain and the creative brain can fall away, and you're just doing things by rote or by habit, and it's not so productive.
Yeah. And it is interesting, even this time, and I've said to Katie as well, even for ourselves, like having these, we've been speaking about doing webinars and a podcast or anything for ages, and this has really given us, we just snapped, we're like, let's bloody do it now. Like, why can't we do it now? And it's been the best thing for us. Every week we've had a project to work together on, and like I come out of there, for some reason, I just absolutely love it. And I come out of this and I can hardly sleep that. I'm just that excited. And it does. It just, it's interesting. So you just got to keep going with something as well, and just get that, like you said, that courage analogy anyway. That was awesome.
Yeah. And yourself?
And what about yourself, Belle?
I think I am very much the same as Neil in the way that it certainly motivates me, and it's kind of that awesome, it's kind of thrown me back into that awesome passion that I had when I was launching the business, and you kind of don't know what the future holds. It's kind of, you're waiting to see. So it's definitely, I wake up with a lot of energy in the morning, and I'm excited to get in and kind of act on the things that we have put on the back burner before. And I think for me, I am definitely working on how to unwind. That is still on the to-do list, maybe for next week. But I do enjoy, I find cooking, I find it like quite the method, like using a method, and I find it quite calming and relaxing. I certainly won't be going in any sort of MKR off with you, Dave, but
no, that's all right.
I don't
cook at home either.
Excellent. But I also think too, just there are some days where I can tell myself that it's actually okay to do nothing, and that's fine. Like, I don't need to beat myself up about having not exercised that day, or having not done what I had had intended to with my goals for work or whatever, and just kind of having that peaceful moment and unwinding that way.
It is about those expectations, isn't it? Because even yesterday, I could feel something building up in me. And I was like, what? Like, because I told myself that morning that I was going to go for a run, and I hadn't done it yet. But at the same time, you're just like, well, ease up. Like, you don't have to be so hard on yourself. Like, you can do it a little bit later or whatnot as well. But
totally. And just having that bit of balance. And like we said, maybe you do the run for like 10 minutes instead of 20 minutes. Like, just like a bit of balance always helps.
Yeah. No, bang on. And I was going to say, David, as well, do you want to quickly give a bit of a run? Like, what was that like to work? It's probably off track a little bit. What was it like to work under Ramsey and Jamie Oliver and stuff as well? I've heard Neil's a Ramsey of June A, but...
Yeah. Look, what is it? 7:45. Look, Jamie's restaurants, all love, respect. He'd walk into the kitchen in the morning. All right, brother. Tap you on the bum, ask you how your mum's going. He'd ring my mum back in Australia when I was over. All right, hey mum, what's happening? Like, it was just family. Right. And my first year over in London, I actually spent Christmas at the Oliver's house. He invited me out there.
Oh my goodness.
2006.
Was the food good?
I did have to work, Neil. It was. I stayed there for 3 nights, but I cooked for him and his family and his relatives for the 3 days, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So, but I got to sit and have meals with them and walk around Jamie's, his house in Essex where he filmed Jamie at home. He'd wake me up in the morning, come, geez, we'll go pick herbs for lunch. I was like, what's going on here? So I was there for an extended period of time and worked my way up to one of the leaders of the kitchens, and I just got a bit bored and it just became a bit too nice. I was like, I'm over there. I want someone to yell at me. Like, I was young and I was, pretty driven, like you've mentioned, Riley. And I was like, I want a challenge. So off I went, silly enough, and the grass is never greener, is it? Off to Ramsey's, handed in my resume, and I think I hadn't even walked out the door 10 meters, and my phone was ringing, and come in, and it was horrible.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, things thrown at you, harassment, punches in your kidneys, kicks. It was. If I wanted I didn't want nice anymore. I certainly bloody got that, I tell you. Yeah,
I don't think it's all an act, but it obviously isn't.
It's horrible, things getting thrown at, the dishwasher got the bin tipped on his head one day because he didn't empty it quick enough, and things, it was just,
Jesus.
It was enduring, and you worked from 7 in the morning till 1 in the next morning, and no break, no food, no. It was
fair few fair work cases against him.
People didn't last that long, so when someone new came into the kitchen, we used to have bets on how long they'd last, whether they'd even make it to lunch. Would they even make it to lunchtime? So
you've got a cracking culture when you're doing that.
So
I experienced something similar in the office.
You've got to give mum a dog. The harder you kick it, the quicker she comes back. It's unbelievable.
Right,
for 4 years she'd be gone. It's like rats in my ceiling.
Yeah, but amazing life experiences, and like I said, I learned a lot about myself working with Gordon and Jason. Mental toughness, what you can actually get yourself through, fatigue, hunger, anxiety. It was just on the edge, like if there was a piece of parsley on the ground, you'd get screamed at and called the dirty swear words galore. And it was that kind of high intensity, everything was just manic, and it was, it got too much for me in the end, and came home. So that was London, but like I said, made me who I am today, and strong and driven, and all that shit that I went through, I now know that I've created a restaurant with all the good Jamie and all the good food from Gordon and whatnot, but left out all the crap. And you learn from your experience, and I've taken one for the team, so to speak. So.
Let's go.
Neil,
We might have another webinar just on that, so we'll get back to that.
Neil, will the changes that you've made at Corowa, will the changes you've made stay in place once things return back to sort of normality?
Yeah, look, the good changes. So I'm hoping most of them will, but there's been some things that have been really positive, and I want to keep them. I don't want to lose them, but there've been changes in attitudes. There've been changes in people that resist change. So there's been some changes in our staff, but we're also doing renovations. So that's exciting. We're really excited when people return to here that they'll see new things and better things. But there's been skills that people will keep. And look, the level of teamwork has been exciting to see. We've put a real emphasis on that. To survive, we've got to work as a team. And so I really think that can stay. Yeah.
That's a good point, because that would have been like for your culture anyway. It basically like getting those 20 people together to start a brand new business together like that, the excitement, and everyone would experience that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, and the more people experience that change, and when it works, the more confidence people have when something else new comes along, and they're not like, oh, it's change, I don't want it.
Yeah.
It's like, hold on, this worked last time, so maybe it'll work again. So, and I don't know whether you noticed, but I exercised one time recently, and I'm feeling pretty fit and strong. I'm sure people have noticed, but I'm hoping that I can have a little bit of an exercise regime rather than just working and doing nothing else.
What have you been doing now? Apart from shoulders, like you're very broad.
Oh, look at the biceps. So all I did, it wasn't a big deal. I've been throwing frisbee with my son Mitchell, but also he's got some of these stretchy things, and we put them up on the balcony rails, and I did a bit of that. It feels good. Yeah, it's great. Something Belle said, I reckon it's really, really good. I just want action, not perfection. I think that's absolutely brilliant. And in our interviews, we actually ask people when they're coming for a job, which would you do? Would you be perfect and a little bit late, or good and on time? And they look at you hoping for a clue. But we are looking for good and on time. Absolutely. Because the idea of perfection is it's not for humans to be perfect, I don't think. Yeah.
And do you look for that as well, because you know that you've got strong processes and systems in place, so you don't necessarily need an absolute gun high performer? You can have someone who is good and consistent that can come in and just follow direction and get it done? Or am I just off track with it?
No, that's pretty much it. But the trouble with perfection is you'll never get there. And while you think you might be a little bit late getting perfection, you're going to be very, very late. And if you get something really close to it, instead of people appreciating it, it kind of doesn't. You've got to make a really good product, but to be perfect, if you get somewhere near perfect, it's just an ego thing. Yeah. So it's not a positive. I know a lot of times I'll try and be perfect. I've just got to knock it right out of myself, I've got to move on to the next thing.
It's
because
so time
perfection
consuming.
and procrastination are twins.
Yeah. What were you saying there, Belle?
It's just so time consuming, and it doesn't equate to value, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is hard being perfect, guys. So.
You know.
Good call. Good call.
I had a question come in from Craig Honey too, Neil. He's asked, will you continue to make hand sanitizer?
We're asking ourselves that every day. We think we will, and it's going to all depend on, do we get contracts? Are the contracts big enough? But because it's alcohol-based, and that's kind of what we're doing, that we really think we will. And when you research it, the amount of hand sanitizer that was coming in from China, it doesn't have to come in from there. It can be Australian jobs that do this. So, and I also believe we're not just using a little bit more hand sanitizer and liquid sanitizer now. We're using lots and lots more. And I think we'll keep doing that.
Yeah, that's great.
And that'll be something.
Say that they were putting little bits of like lavender. Would you be mixing any sort of essential oils in your hand sanitizer there?
Look, I want to mix some things in. Our first lot, as I said, we made from gin. So we had the juniper berry.
Oh, Neil, come back.
Might be all that frisbee throwing he's been doing.
Sorry,
Hopefully,
on us.
That smells. I really like the
We'll just pretend that we heard all that. No. Sorry, Neil, if you can hear us, you've frozen on the screen a little bit. So, but we'll come back to you in a second anyway. But yeah, we'll come back to you in a sec, Neil, because it's frozen there. So, and what about with you, Belle? Like, have you those changes online? I'm guessing they'll probably stay. But
Get back, Neil.
But would you like they'll stay? Will that change? I guess the question I think for yourself would be: will you change your marketing approach and go more of at a national or statewide level instead of just in the Riverina?
Absolutely. I think it's still really key for us to focus on our local community because it is really strong. And I think if you target and tailor your product to a niche, you're kind of streets ahead to start with. But I think Neil's very right. Like, not everything that we take from this necessarily has to be tangible. Like, I'm definitely with you, Dave, in having a bit more of a life-work balance. And that's certainly something that I'm going to take from this. And I think just to trust the people around you, like you kind of pass on the knowledge that you have, and the employee that we do have is awesome. And I think just trusting her and giving her the reins and being able to enjoy some of the time that I've had to myself throughout all of this is something I'm definitely going to take with me. And also, content is really hard. I know people give like influencers a lot of grief, but content is really tough. So we're kind of just figuring out how to make those bite-sized, and we're kind of timing those and figuring out a way that we can still deliver that content because people are loving that visually, and but still be able to kind of do what we need to do in our day-to-day. And we definitely don't want to, our number one priority will always be our customers. So nothing can kind of get in the way of that, but we'll certainly figure out ways to kind of weave it into our process and streamline it.
Yeah. And have you started, like, because of this, obviously, a little bit of a downturn and stuff, have you utilised that to look at, like, your marketing strategies to go national as well? Like, how you'd roll that out? Like, if you would use influencers, or, you know, is it Google ads and all that sort of stuff, or how you do it?
For sure. Like, we've certainly got a lot of resources at our fingertips when it comes to even free marketing tools. Like, social media has so much to offer. It's crazy. And then also tapping into, like our Google Analytics and having more targeted approach to our advertising. There's a lot that you can do with, like, not necessarily a huge budget, or like some things are free as well. So certainly, that's a big learning curve. But there's actually a lot of awesome free resources out there at the moment, helping to upskill and train you in how to utilize those. So we've just been trying to pick up on those where we can, and use the time to upskill as well.
That's awesome. And like, that social media, it's so important, I think, especially with what Dave, like, say for instance, Katie and I had only just started working down in Albury with Wodonga for the last probably 12 to 18 months. And that's originally how we got onto Dave. And the way, especially for a restaurant, I think, Dave, as well, is, I don't know if you guys have had a look at it, and if you are at home, like, have a look at every panelist here has an awesome social media sort of presence anyway. But I think, Dave, for a restaurant, it is hands down the best I've seen. Even, especially in the Riverina anyway.
It's amazing.
It's unbelievable. So what about the changes that you've made there as well with the, like, will this, like, be a pie drive once a year, or like what's, and even with the business we were talking about today, like, you can go into that, because that's an awesome story as well. But and that's breaking news, guys, not fake news, breaking news. Can you touch on that?
Yeah, I can touch on that. Yeah, a little kind of social media release today, and like I said, the silver lining on all of this. I've met some amazing people, and I now have new business partners, and we're turning an old empty shed in the industrial part of Wodonga into a world-class commercial kitchen, and we're going to produce gourmet goods and everything we possibly can for our community and beyond. So we want to get on the road and make Wagga and Yarrawonga and Wangaratta big targets for us outside of Albury Wodonga. Gourmet pies, braises, pasta sauces, charcuterie, seafood, cheeses.
Oh, I'm so hungry.
It'll be licensed. We'll sell wine to match with food, and just a one-stop gourmet shop. We'll introduce a Miss Emily wine clubs. We can have wine nights at the kitchen, and there'll be a retail shop in the front. Cooking classes, just a mecca gourmet treat for our community and beyond. So it's super exciting.
Will you still?
That's all.
Dave?
Yeah, restaurant 100%. We'll probably drop the restaurant back to a four night operation and just make it a bit more exclusive, and especially with the restrictions still being in place, it'll be hard to make a crust off 40 people on a Saturday night. So this is me thinking outside the square and attacking the situation again. So it's construction will start very soon, and it's going to be something super impressive and beneficial for our region and beyond. And we're hoping to get into the South Melbourne market in Melbourne as well, and really take our Miss Emily and the brand national, hopefully.
It's so good. And it'll be like a Hello Fresh sort of thing, but an upmarket version, basically. You were talking today where you get all your ingredients in your wine, you'll be able to cook that with your wife or husband or brother, sister.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're, comfy duck legs. Yeah, comfy duck legs you can take home, and I'll have cooking instructions on the labels, and I'll pre-sous vide duck breast so it's perfect for you at home, and render the fat down. And Paris mash in Cryovac, you just drop in a pot of simmering water for 5 minutes and serve, and you can take that gourmet experience home with you.
Yeah, Dave, I was going to say, I've actually personally been to the restaurant, and it is spot on.
Awesome, thank you, appreciate that.
I went there when for the Janine Alice event, the start of last year.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. And it was bloody good. And you had the best drop of rosé there too. I can't remember what it was, but it was.
Would have been the Scion rosé probably. Scion, another local winery in Rutherglen. So Neil would know that well. Rolly down there, Neil.
Yep.
So look, I just love making people happy through hospitality and whatever way I can, whether it's stuff and pastry full of awesome meat and selling it as a pie, or I just love spreading the good vibes and doing my bit for the community.
Yeah, well, we've had Kate Cowdroy Ling who's down in Melbourne, and she said they're definitely happy to welcome you down there, Dave. So
awesome, can't wait.
And even from this as well, I was thinking before, like even the connections between you three now as well, I hope that sort of can continue, but especially with that new site development, like to tap into Neil's experience with developing those two could be really beneficial as well. But it has been funny, all these connections throughout Zoom. Even a lot of time, Katie and I have been talking to more people than we would if it was, winding the clock back 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it's been great like that. But and I guess lastly as well, and then we're just mindful of time now with you guys as well. Neil, what advice would you give businesses that are struggling to make any changes at the moment?
Oh, look, I think it's great to be. Look, I think those businesses got to understand that we've got an idea of how it is to struggle.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. But to take the positives and dwell on the positives, because if we do develop a defeated attitude, the result is failure. And I just think to be as positive as we can, always looking for something new to do, looking for the opportunities, and going that way. Also, when we're being positive, I think we need to look at what the government's done. And in my opinion, and I think it should be everyone's, that they've done well. It's not because of what harder they are, but together that they've seen an emergency and have stepped in and acted as well as they can. Yeah. So I suppose, and all different businesses are different, and I don't just want to tell people think positive and all will be well, because for some businesses they're hit very, very hard, and luckily that hasn't been us. But I really do think to be game to step outside your normal course. You know how the business advisors say, oh, is that your core business? And if it's not your core business, don't do it. Yeah. Well, now's not the time to be stuck in a little narrow framework that you're going to work in. Now's the time to think that everything could be possible. So that's where I'd come from. Your staff are very important. Your good staff are incredibly important to try and keep. And I would advise as many people as you think you possibly can get onto the JobKeeper and allow that money to keep the staff, and then think of ways of keeping them busy. So yeah, there's a few things. Hopefully that's helpful.
And we had a comment there from Craig Honey, who's the CEO of MSP Photography here in Wagga, and he wanted us to. He's got an idea for you, Neil, around potentially keeping that sanitizer going. So Craig's a great guy, but Katie and myself will send you both a bit of an intro email maybe tomorrow.
I'm very keen. I'm very, very keen.
Yeah. So, and what about yourself, Belle? Any, I guess, advice for businesses that are, I guess, going through a bit of pain at the moment?
Yeah, I guess I can really only speak from my experience, and I guess towards retail mostly, but I think you're so right, Neil. For us, it's just been about focusing on why we do it, and it's because we love it. And if you start there, you can kind of build up, and you're already your mindset's positive, and it gives you a kind of good framework to work within. So that's been the number one thing. And then I guess it's kind of what I said before as well, but being proactive and making a plan has really helped kind of ease my anxiety about what's potentially going to happen or not going to happen. And you don't necessarily have to stick to it, but it just gives you a bit of a guideline to work towards, and makes it a little bit more palatable. And I think just taking solace in the fact that everyone is in the same boat. So like our suppliers are open to negotiation, and I think it's just about appealing to people's kind of humanity and just showing kindness, and you'll receive it in return. So that's kind of, the number one thing.
Yeah. And it's great, the message, I think, coming from all three of you as well, is just that positivity and that kindness as well. Like everyone we're all in this together. So just relax and understand that basically as well. So that's great. And Dave, with yourself, just quickly as well, we had a question too. Are you delivering pies to Wagga?
We are. It's definitely, there is a business plan in place, and we want to get established and open here in Albury-Wodonga, and then we're going to gradually find retail spaces in those places mentioned earlier, like Wagga, Wangaratta, Yarrawonga, wherever it may be, and distribute through a little retail space. So the Miss Emily Gourmet brand will be in Wagga, Canberra, and places like that, where we will set up a little retail shop. Nothing flash, but all products will be made here in Albury or in Wodonga, and delivered up to there and sold. We'll send up a weekly amount, and that's definitely on our cards and more. So watch this space.
And what about the Henry's pies at the moment? They're a no-go? They're just Wodonga only? Or?
Oh, you'd have to talk to Ian Shells in his old rusty Henry's van that has no air conditioning. So you don't want to get a pie from Shells out of the van up in Wagga.
Yeah. That answers your question there, man. Yeah, thanks. Just a great webinar, guys. And the feedback we're getting has been really good already, so it's awesome. But yeah, so Dave, just quickly as well, what would be your sort of final parting advice to businesses that are going through a little bit of, I guess, some hard times?
Yeah, without regurgitating what Belle and Neil have said, everyone's in the same boat. I haven't really tried to think about it a lot. and stay positive and take all the positives you can day to day. I work for Henry's. I'm not, financially, I'm just as equal to everybody else. I'm working 3-4 days maybe in a bakery. I'm not, I don't take all the profits from it as many people around town probably think that. I'm just doing my little bit for community, and I'm drawing energy out of watching Henry's be successful again and putting smiles back on people's faces down there. And again, spending time with my kids and really refreshing and thinking about new directions in life and where you want to take the restaurant, and get excited about the return of your business. And the right people will help you out. Your landlords will help you out. Your families will help you out. You'll find people's true colours will shine in circumstances like this, and you will come out the other end in a relatively good shape. And it's exciting to think of the challenge that lies ahead, and hopefully that rest and the mental break will reinvigorate your spice for what you were doing beforehand. So stay positive and draw from the people around you, and like Neil said, keep your key staff. They're important to you. And just enjoy the time to connect with your family again, and really think about the important things in life, because you've got your health, and you've got yourself, and you've got your family, and that's all that really matters. So stay positive, and we'll all come out together.
Yeah, it is so true. And I think that's it. Even businesses that have been hit really hard, you've got to remember, I think, like I was talking to someone the other week as well, that you got into it for a reason. You're determined, you're resilient, like you've got some really good traits. So, and you will be able to rebuild. If you've done it once, you can do it again. So I think it's just remembering that too. And even someone, like, and we've been trying to mention it every time here, but just people not being too proud to ask for help, or put their hand up, or that's what we all need now, just to tap into everyone's thoughts and what they're doing. And I think hopefully you three tonight have really inspired. Like we've got a lot out of it ourselves, and hopefully it's inspired a lot of people that are watching now as well. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys, and we really appreciate you getting on board with us. And I know that everyone that's came on board tonight has got a lot out of it as well.
No, thank you guys. It's been awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so no, we do. We appreciate it. Thank you very much, and we'll let you go get back to your families like you've been talking about now anyway.
Hopefully they're asleep.
Yeah, Neil's got some frisbee throwing to catch up on, and
that's it. Good exercise.
Yeah. No, thanks. So, like we said before, I think just hopefully it has, even this has maybe brought the three of you together a little bit as well, and you just never know when those sort of connections will be, and that's what we really created this for, is to just create more connections out there as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you all do with your businesses and whatnot anyway. So we're big fans either way, so it's good.
Belle, I could see maybe a retail space down in Albury.
Who knows? Anything's possible. We're certainly, before kind of all this happened, we were planning a bit of a travelling roadshow. So stay tuned for that post-COVID. We want to give some more access to women who are a bit more isolated, and really bring that to them. So stay tuned for that.
Perfect.
That's awesome. That would be a great idea. And would that be like a like with a catwalk type thing and model? Like, is that how would that work?
I don't see why not. Like, I'm pretty lucky to have some connections kind of across the place in some pretty far away corners of the state. So, and people love getting together and, have a couple of wines and just make it a bit of a fun thing to do. I think at the end of the day, it just brings people together and it's a bit social. So I don't see why not, Riley. I think it'd be a really fun thing to do. No,
that's awesome. And well, if you're looking to get into menswear, like, you'll have to just get in quick with myself. Like Calvin Klein and knocking on the door most weeks, and I'm out my way. So,
if I ever do, you'll be top of the list.
You keep that exercise rate. Like, Neil will be in the same boat today. It's a curse. All right. Thanks so much, guys.
All right. See you guys.
Thanks
Bye.
a lot. See ya.
See ya.